Thanks, Paul. All right, we're ready to start. Let's see, today is April 19th, and this is our final Habitat Council meeting for the season, for the year, aside from a tour that we'll plan and talk about later on. Welcome, everyone, and welcome, council members. Thank you for participating today. Looks like we have Ben Allen's online with us, as is Cody Jones. And the rest of the council members are here. Let's take a minute and just introduce ourselves in case anybody's watching on YouTube. This is being streamed live on YouTube. So
let's make Kobe go first since he's not.
Should we make Kobe go first? Kobe, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Kobe Jones, Wildlife Section Chief. Yep, that's all.
Okay. All right, Ben.
Can you see me?
Yep.
All right.
You can
Yeah,
see you.
Benjamin Allen, Habitat Council. I am the sport fish representative. For the
Thanks,
public.
Ben. All right.
Daniel Eddington, I'm the Habitat Conservation Coordinator.
Okay, Drew.
Drew Cushing, the Aquatic Section Chief for the division.
Tyler Thompson, the Watershed Program Director with DNR.
All right.
Angie Wanacott for waterfowl.
Okay. Lisa.
Lisa Graham, Habitat Office Assistant.
Okay.
Randy Hutchison, Randy Hutchison Upland.
Steve Sorensen representing Big Game.
All right. And I'm Eric Edgley, the Habitat Section Chief for the Division of Wildlife here in Salt Lake, and I'm the chair of the council. So thanks everybody for being here. Thank our staff for being here, and we'll ask them is that if they end up coming and speaking to us, that they introduce themselves when they do so. Before we get started, we need to approve the minutes from our last meeting. Daniel will pull up for us. In those minutes includes all of the voting that occurred from our previous meeting, and we just need to approve those minutes this time with the motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion to approve from Tyler and a second from Randy. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Okay. We've approved the minutes. All right. Before we jump into our first matter of business, I thank Daniel and Danny Summers, who's not here. I don't know if he's online, but Lisa and Alison for all their support with putting these meetings together and helping the council run and making it all work. So, and our AV team, which you heard the countdown from a couple minutes ago. So they're big help. Yeah. All right. So we have a small agenda today. Since it's our last meeting, we're not really reviewing projects per se. We're going through the overall budget and letting everybody look at that. We're going to talk about a couple of different strategies of how we can maybe adjust some things. Some of the things are in red, and we'll need to maximize funds on projects. And so we'll talk about some of the strategies and how we can do that. We need to approve some other projects that aren't receiving Habitat Council money, but on the back of your agenda, there's a list of these were included. Daniel had sent these out previously. These projects have either received commitments from external conservation permit dollars from conservation groups, or other funding that needs to be gone through a process of review. And basically, we're not going to we're not going to present these projects, but if you have questions about them, then you're welcome to ask them at this time. Otherwise, we'll do a group approval of this block of projects that's not Habitat Council, but has other funding that we need to essentially run through a process to approve. And so, okay. Let's see. The last thing we'll do after we kind of review the funding scenario and the contingency list is we'll talk about field tour dates and select a date for a field tour and where to go, based on, either past projects or stuff that might be going on with new projects. And we'll be tossing out ideas. So maybe be thinking of what might be interested in by the time we get to that point. And we should be done by noon or 1 today. There's Danny. Hey, Danny. Okay, any questions before we jump in? Okay. All right. First matter of business. I'm gonna ask Daniel, did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. First matter of business, and one of the things the Habitat Council does is by requirement, we review wildlife management area habitat management plans, or HMPs. And so we have one of those to be presented to us today. And Stan Gurley from our southern region is here to do that. So
You guys want me to sit down, stand up, however you like? Roll over, play dead.
I think you're close enough
Okay.
there to the mic, so I think you're fine.
I want to sit down
You can sit down if you want. That would be just fine.
so I blend in. So I'm Stan Gurley from the southern region. I'm a farm bill biologist, which is a partnership biologist between the NRCS and the Division of Wildlife Resources. So this year, for a project, with the help of a committee and Gary Bezant and Jess Kinross, we updated the Parowan Front, wrote the Parowan Front WMA Habitat Management Plan. So this PowerPoint just goes through the plan and why we have to have the plan and what we do with the plans. So do you just want me to tell you next?
Yeah,
Okay,
sounds
go
good.
ahead. So just to get everyone excited, we start off with code. So code says this is the process of review for habitat management plans for WMAs. So in this case, since it was a southern region, the southern region office staff reviewed the habitat plans. Now it's at the Habitat Council, and we've already taken it to the Iron County Commission, and they supported the plan. They provided some recommendations and then a letter of support, and we are ready to go to the next RAC meeting, and then RDCC, they will be going there if it already hasn't gone there. Go ahead, Daniel. So why we have management plans? Basically, the gist of it, each management plan includes important things. Basically, the proposed and anticipated uses of the area, the description of the management limitations or conditions covering the area, inventory of existing conditions on the properties, and statement of future desired uses or conditions, and then a list of strategies of how those will be implemented to achieve those. And then also a reallocation of forage, water, or other resources. Go ahead, Daniel. The participation. So we formed a committee, and using the code, we reached out to different people in the area that are interested in the land, and then also government and neighboring government entities, which are some of the neighboring landowners, and then like I said, the community. So for instance, there's the next slide will show a list, but we reached out to the hunting and fishing community, recreation, like I said, the county, a commissioner, and the natural resource specialist for Iron County sat on with the committee, and their goal, or what they're there to do, is to bring input and make sure the plan, we all come to the conclusion that everyone agrees with the plan. So go ahead to the next one, Danny. So these are the members of the committee. So Donnie Hunter represented local sportsmen. David Hewlett is the livestock permittee on the WMA, and he's also a neighboring landowner. Eric DeHammer from Mule Deer Foundation joined the committee too. Marilyn Wood, an Iron County Commissioner. Mike Worthen, the Iron County Natural Resource Management Specialist. Dustin Shively from the Bureau of Land Management. He is the biologist out of the Cedar City Field Office. Jacob Benson. He's was appointed by the E&I Soil Conservation District, and then then numerous Utah Division of Wildlife personnel, including the local biologists and habitat biologists. Go ahead. So here's some general information about the WMA. On the right, there's a map. You can see the different units. It's kind of spread out, so sorry, it's a little small. The WMA is about 7,500 acres, and it was formed to secure and protect or improve critical mule deer winter range. Pittman Robinson grant dollars were used for the purchases, trades in these properties with federal aid, and Pittman. So as such, federal aid stipulations apply to the whole entire WMA. So the whole goal for the whole WMA is still mule deer winter range protection and enhancement. So land exchanges and purchases started as early as 1952, and as recently as 2013, there were some trades that took place for the WMA. Big game and small game hunting and trapping are permitted on the WMA. Deer and wild turkey are the most common species hunted on the WMA. There isn't really any live water or surface water through the WMA, so fishing is kind of, this year there might be, but there probably won't be any fish there. So anyways, it's kind of a dream. Anyways, the WMA is very, very popular with the local communities for viewing mule deer during the winter, because they come down. It's easy for kids to get out and families to go for rides, and I've done it myself. Take the kids for a ride during November and let them see the bucks rutting, and they get really excited. So it's a lot of fun to have that. Go ahead, Daniel. So the purpose of the WMA, like I said, is provide winter range for mule deer and while supporting other wildlife. Go ahead. We allow hunting and wildlife viewing, hiking, and horseback riding on the WMA. So all these pictures come from the WMA. And so it is used by a lot of people, not just for viewing, but actually hunting and recreation. Go ahead, Daniel. So on the WMA, popular game species include mule deer, of course, elk, wild turkey, and mourning doves. Go ahead. That's notable non-game species, bald eagles, pinyon jays, and we do have a small population of spring snails. Go ahead. So current conditions on the WMA. So mix of pinyon juniper forests with sagebrush flats and early several stage treatments. So in a little bit, I'll get to a little more detail about the treatments that went on, but go ahead, Daniel. So since 2006, over 2,500 acres mule deer winter range has been improved primarily by mastication and pinyon juniper and seeding. So just to clarify what early several stage are, early several stage plants are like grasses and forbs. So brush would be like a later several stage, and browse. So the things that we really need for critical mule deer habitat. It takes a little while to get there, but there's one way to get there, and that's by starting with early several stage. And we're doing our best to improve those, to increase browse, as you'll see later on. Go ahead, Daniel. So there are several range trend sites on the WMA. So habitat challenges include cheatgrass, lack of diversity in grasses and forbs, and degraded browse conditions. So some of our older sagebrush, as you can see, it gets used quite well. You don't see a lot of young sagebrush in these pictures. And you do see quite a bit of cheatgrass in some of these areas. Go ahead, Daniel. So some of the concerns is wildlife is becoming entangled in non-wildlife friendly fence. So this picture comes from a fence that is notable for catching lots of deer and killing them. There is good news though, that hopefully has been fixed. So anyways, it's not all doom and gloom. We just have to start with the doom and gloom. Okay, go ahead, Daniel. Increase the illegally created roads throughout the WMA. A lot of like I said, recreation is popular and more people are getting out and this is easy place to get to. Go ahead. And then the recent habitat improvements are that early sterile stage, which is lacking the browse component in there. So those are some of the concerns that we have on the WMA. Go ahead, Daniel. And cheatgrass and other invasive species, which with those treatments, we do expect to see increases of cheatgrass just because cheatgrass is known for finding and filling in when there is disturbance. Go ahead, Daniel. So habitat improvements. So we want to increase sprouts for wintering mule deer, and that's done through a variety of methods. We're continually working with our partners and with GBRC and to find the best methods. Right now, it still doesn't seem like there's a silver bullet, but we're doing our best to increase sprouts by using dedicated hunters and planting bitter brush seed to using other methods that we have access to. Go ahead, Daniel. Reducing pinyon and juniper as it encroaches into important habitats, for instance, like our sagebrush and grouse habitats. Go ahead. And then kind of something newer on the market is the installation of erosion control structures. A lot of people refer to them as Z-dike structures. Anyways, these structures help control the erosion that happens in these draws or washes as we see snow melt or runoff events. And that also keeps water on the landscape longer, which provides green to be there on the landscape longer too, especially in these areas that, I mean, it's funny that we talk about this year because it doesn't seem like it, but drought is something that is more and more prevalent. And these 300% snowpack years are fewer and fewer. Go ahead, Daniel. So some of the annual maintenance is weed control. Obviously, this picture wasn't taken on the Parowan front because there's a big B on the mountain, which would stand for beaver. So, but we are planning this year a very large herbicide treatment with Rejuvra, which is a pre-emergent herbicide that has been developed mainly for cheatgrass. So we are going to apply that on most of the treated areas on the WMA, and then also on the BLM, which is neighboring, and most of the time those project areas just went onto the BLM because we worked in conjunction with them. They don't have Rejuvra available to their use. So anyways, we're going to use Plateau, which will hopefully set up a really cool case study of fence line effectiveness of Rejuvra versus Plateau. Go ahead, Daniel. Fence maintenance. So the picture of the deer being caught in the fence, that was the fence. This is the new fence. So we are installing wildlife or doing fence maintenance and replacing fence with wildlife friendly fences as needed. So on the left of that picture would be private land, and then on the right is WMA. So the goal is we need to have a fence that's suitable to hold out livestock, but at the same time allow mule deer to cross and other wildlife species to cross safely. Go ahead. Road maintenance and signage. So this is a gate to one of the main roads on the WMA. We will continue to put up signs and close illegally created roads and make sure that the public is aware of roads that they shouldn't be on or should be on. Go ahead. So access management. So part of the habitat management plan is there is an access management plan that is within the habitat management plan. So on the WMA, there's year-round roads, seasonally closed roads, and then there's also closed roads. So you can see on the map, there's red, that's a closed road or closed roads. And then yellow are seasonally closed roads, and green are year-round open roads. And also we consider all classes of e-bikes as motorized vehicles on this WMA. Through the lands rule, we were able to designate all classes of e-bikes just to clarify the public that, just to make it easier for enforcement. So it's not, oh, you have this class of e-bike, not that class. So go ahead, Daniel. Overland travel is limited to foot and horseback. So if you're using those methods, you can go across the landscape on the WMA. Go ahead. And then the creation of new roads is prohibited unless deemed necessary by the DWR. Go ahead. So with that, thank you. And if there's any questions, I'll be trying my best to answer them. If not, Gary's here to provide backup. So.
Any questions for Stan about Parowan Front?
I actually have a quick question, and I'm hoping someone will bail me out because part of this is just on fuzzy memory. But on e-bikes, I know, maybe it's just in a recent RAC meeting, that they're treating the different categories like class 1 different from the others. Now, I actually like what you guys are doing, but I know, I'm trying to remember what the presentation was, but the class 1 was treated like a regular mountain bike. So, and it looks like you're nodding, you guys can.
So we opted because of that, and it's in the land use rule as that, we wanted to go a step further, so we put it in our habitat management plan, so it tiered downward instead. We're just gonna call them all motorized vehicles and keep them all just to the roads. There's no e-bikes, I guess technically bikes could go on trails because we didn't call them out, but we don't want to, we're not encouraging biking to become part of our WMA. We don't want to know this.
No, and I like that. You know, my concern was that it created any confusion, but the signage will be there and
It's not
specify
something
that.
that's an issue right now. It was trying to just plan to the future. If it arrives, we've already addressed it.
It will become an issue. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Kobe?
So I don't dislike that either. The only concern that I have is the inconsistency. And there aren't a lot of folks that read our habitat management plan, so I guess I'd say make sure it's well signed. And if we're gonna go that route, just make sure that it's well signed and understood that this property is different.
And that's why I was bummed when that came up before. They made that distinction. And I think it piggybacked on the decision was made to allow them on waterfowl, on WMAs. And that was a mistake. I knew when it happened, it was gonna be a snowball thing. But so yeah, clear signage because it will be an issue. It's an issue up here in north, I should say.
So one question I have, Stan, is how prolific is, you know, you had a picture in there of somebody that had gone down a ravine and essentially created a new road. How much of a problem is that becoming in southern region in this property specifically?
I'll take a stab at it and Gary can add to it if he'd like. So it is an issue. As we did the treatments and opened up more area, it obviously created more open area and easier access for ATVs and people pushing trails further. But with the signage and increased patrols by our law enforcement, it seems like we're kind of getting a grip on it. But Gary can add that.
The only thing I would add is we had worked hard on this for the last 5 to 10 years and made some hard fixes on the ground that include fencing, parking areas that have gates on the backside. We have done everything we can to make it easy to obey the law and to make it obvious that you're not. And so if they're gonna go around, they're gonna have to use a chainsaw. And at that point, law enforcement feels like, yeah, that's egregious enough. I'm willing to write a ticket. So,
Yeah. And to that point, our law enforcement statewide have been really
awesome.
good about working with Habitat section, our Habitat people, staff in the regions and patrolling our properties and making sure that we catch or prevent as much as possible what's going on out there that is bad for wildlife. So
we're in a better place right there now than we've been in the last 10 years, just with all the work we've done cooperatively with law enforcement and saying, this is where our biggest problems are, and what can we do to make it easy for people to obey the law? And it's working. It's been really good this year.
Okay, any other questions about?
You're only presenting us to the southern rack, aren't you?
Yeah.
It hasn't gone to the county yet, right?
It hasn't gone yet. It'll go in the next round.
So you guys, is that road you showed on the summit unit, the red closed road? Is that the first time you guys are closing that, or is it always been kind of closed?
It's always been closed. So there was a travel management plan in the previous plan that we just updated to fit this.
I believe that when we actually did the mapping, we took some of the closed roads off the maps finally because we feel like they've been closed for 10+ years and they really have disappeared. And
Yeah.
if you call it a closed road, somebody says, hey, there must be a road there. So,
Do you anticipate the county having an issue with the e-bike stuff?
They were in full support of it.
There are no bike trails on this, it's all just roads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're allowing bikes are more than welcome. They just need to stay on the roads and during their open period.
It feels like, and so did you only say e-bikes when you did or is it just no
we
bikes?
did only say e-bikes.
Yeah.
So technically, someone could take a mountain bike on a trail if they want to do it. It would be like on they're not the trails like you guys have up here.
Yeah, I totally get that. I guess I just am gun shy because I see what happens and I've seen what happens. And pretty soon you've got a high school team out there building trails all over your WMA and you're like, what are you doing? And like, this is public land. We can't build trails on it. No, you can't build trails on it. What do you think you're doing?
Yeah. Those were the exact discussions we had. And I feel like the community there is supportive of and understanding of single-use properties versus multiple use. They recognize that the BLM is where those trails are going to occur and do occur in Iron County right now. And it's very focused on where they tell those people they can go buy it. The community has been good so far. But we don't have the same pressures you do up here.
Okay. Before we jump off of this subject, I guess I would ask the council if you aside from just questions, would you have any like habitat improvement advice for these folks in regards to this WMA? This is our
Just
chance
drove
to.
by it and it looks like you're doing a pretty good job.
I think so.
It's like,
That, and I'll say that too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great job.
Your PJ works great. Can't do enough PJ work.
No.
And it's an interesting area because of the slope, and we working with the BLM partners and Curtis, they did an awesome job coming with that design and really pushing the limits of contractors, and they did a really good job for the situation. It was really something that was the flatlands are kind of disappearing for bull and getting into more technical stuff. And at least my opinion, it definitely has improved the mule deer habitat. The deer are using that, and the collar data shows that too, far more now, and it's benefiting them too, and it's benefiting the other habitat that definitely needs a break. So,
Would it be possible to get any checkers in there?
I'm not, I guess.
The answer is it possible? Yes. Is it desirable? There's probably some better.
Desire's
Yeah.
desire's always there.
I would say, my only concern would be is this amount of snow that we get, the potential amount of snow we get on that. I could see like a year like this, or even a 19 where we only had 150, 200% snowpack. It very easily could, you could lose all your chuckers, I think. So.
As a community fishery, Chucker Place Shore as a establishing population, I don't think I see that.
Okay. Have you guys taken before pictures along the fence line, along the BLM to compare the two sprays?
Curtis was,
We will be.
yeah,
Okay. That'll be interesting to see.
yeah.
And that one spray, I know I asked this, I don't remember. That new spray, that's a new spray, isn't it?
It's fairly new, yeah.
Okay.
Well, new on the market to actually use on public lands.
It's been around for 10-ish years, but it's just now really finally starting to hit. Let's use it. We messed around with it on tens of acres first, and then in the last year, we did hundreds of acres, and this is the first time we're scaling up to thousands.
What are you seeing on the smaller pieces?
That's awesome.
Is it?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm seeing similar things. I had a project out in the West Desert where we bull hogged in it. The material's really thick on the ground because of just the nature of the trees. And it's taken a couple of years, but not only are you getting control of cheatgrass, you're also getting control of Scotch thistle and basically anything that relies on seeding. So the grasses and the established grasses and forbs are actually really performing quite well. So It looks promising. Cool. Very promising.
Yeah, so through this kind of experimentation and some of the work that Danny Summers and Kevin Gunnell and our Great Basin Research Center in Ephraim have done other things in other areas of the state where they've tested how this product works. And I think we're coming up with some good guidelines of how to use it, where to use it, when to use it, when not to use it. You know, if you're gonna be throwing a bunch of no more seed on, you probably need to wait, you know, because it'll inhibit, you know, those seeds from sprouting as well. So, you know, they're figuring it out and doing a great job with that.
We're trying to fund that later today. The Parowan front is the ideal candidate for that chemical. We have done the treatment. We have awesome response from grasses and forbs that are already there and established. So now we just want to get rid of the cheap grass and allow us to thrive.
And that's how you do it. Cool. So, okay. All right. Well, thanks, Stan and
Thank
Gary.
you. Yeah.
I appreciate you guys
Pleasure.
being here and presenting that, and good job. And
We sent out the document to all of you, the actual plan. If you have any edits or anything, I don't know how, if you have a date you want to send to get edits back, but
probably, I don't know, let's say a couple more weeks, and then we need to.
so if you have any
Does that
line
sound
items.
okay?
Find any comments he didn't find. Let us know.
Yeah, comments, periods. Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. All right. Okay. The next portion of our agenda is we're going to approve the conservation permit funded projects. Is that stuff, just the stuff on the back, Daniel? Is that okay? Do you have anything else you want to say about this?
No, these are
What
just,
we're doing here?
as part of Habitat Council, one of those duties is approve habitat management plans as well as approve some of the conservation permit funds that don't go through like WRI or Habitat Council. So part of that process, we just bring them to you guys. If you have any concerns with them, these were fully funded by the conservation permit groups. And so pretty much we're just kind of looking to see if there's any issues with moving forward with that process.
And probably some of these projects, if they hadn't been funded through the conservation permit process, they probably would have come to the council for funding anyway. But a lot of it's typical stuff, guzzlers, water developments. Probably some of the things that we don't see as much of is the second one on the list, wildlife vehicle collision reduction study. So again, we've talked about how we have this big opportunity right now. We've got $20 million of state money that was given to UDOT for wildlife crossings that we're going to leverage with a bunch of federal funds, hopefully up to the tune of about 100 million total is the plan. But in order to get those projects going, they have to do these vehicle collision reduction studies and determine where, you know, create some official data on where these things need to be and justifying spending all that kind of money on these. And so that's why you're seeing a bunch of these this year, probably next year, probably for the next 2 or 3 years, you'll see a bunch of these studies come through. And these kind of the very beginnings of these projects that we need to be throwing money in on, either from this council or other funds. So ECP, you know, conservation permit, funders, you know, help fund that. So those are really good. The other things on here, like fifth one down, the resource analysis and data discovery tool is something that was presented, that the conservation permit, we got a bunch of money for there, and we have some other internal money for that, but we were planning to bring it to the council, but it's now essentially fully funded from these other sources. But what that really does is a lot of the energy development industries, including oil and gas and other potential development industries, have come to us and said, we need you involved in our processes earlier on so that we know what we're going to be up against. And this is really kind of the first time where industries have really come to us and said, we want you more involved so that we know what to avoid or how to make it so that it's not so detrimental to wildlife when developments occur, whether it's highways, you know, transmission corridors for power lines or oil and gas development. And so this is our chance for us to get all of our information to them. including where all of our big game habitats are, corridors are, our key, winter ranges and summer ranges, and so that they know what they're gonna be up against and what they could be disrupting if they try to come through those areas, and it helps guide them so that they try to avoid them. And their industries are being much more receptive to these kinds of concepts these days. And so this is a tool that for us to provide to them, to not just for game species, but for non-game species as well. And so there's non-game funding that's going to be in this too. So this is a really good thing that is being asked of us. And so it's really great that conservation groups can help us fund this and along with some other funds that we have. So that's not a typical project, but yeah, I don't know. Any questions on these specific?
And I looked at some of these and I can't remember, and Daniel, you might actually be able to answer this one off the top of your head. On the Newfoundland, Geslers, Mountain Water Development, is the Sheep Foundation stepping in and helping with that project at all?
I would dare say yes.
I'm thinking so.
I think they did.
Yeah, Alison might be a little.
I'm like,
Yeah, and maybe I should just ask Alison to do that.
We just haven't updated the online database yet with those values.
I'm almost positive.
I was assuming and hoping they were, just because that's such a focus out there.
I know I've seen on their Instagram page, they've done 3 projects.
I know they have in the
year and a
past,
half.
yeah.
They have in the past, Randy, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay,
So-
awesome, good.
Randy, I've got the numbers for you. 37,100 from Utah Wild Sheep Foundation, 10,000 from SFW. That's how that project is.
Okay, awesome, great.
And again, we really appreciate our partnerships with conservation groups and other entities that are coming in, to help fund stuff, and a lot of good work's happening out there because of it.
And Travis has been working with Iowa FNAS, and apparently Iowa FNAS is going to be sending 10,000 as well.
Who's that?
Iowa.
I've met the guy,
I was
he's a
wondering
sheep
where the
nut, they
extra
don't have
10K
sheep
came from.
obviously in
Yeah.
Iowa, but they distribute a lot of.
I was
funds.
making certain I heard. the
Oh,
name
yeah.
correct.
Yeah,
So like state of Iowa?
they're Wild Sheep Foundation in Iowa.
In Iowa,
Yeah,
yeah.
so,
Dedicated guys.
so that's how that was being paid for.
I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
And that kind of precipitated at our conservation permit meeting. We had King's Camo and also the CWU Association come to that meeting, who aren't actually part of the conservation permit program, and they just wanted to sign funding to different projects. And Travis Jensen, who's over the Wild Sheep Foundation, he, after seeing King's Camo put money on projects, he said he wanted to reach out to a few of his contacts, and one of them was that organization. So it was awesome to see that.
We're hoping that we've opened a really good Pandora's
Yeah,
box.
Yeah,
Feel that. We're full of-
right?
There-
It was really cool to see that. I mean, it was awesome.
Fantastic.
It really started about a year ago with just a private donor that said, I don't have a lot of money, but I've got some in a retirement account that I just want to give to wildlife. And I was like, why aren't we talking with others? And then Ryan came to me and said, I want to donate to wildlife. How do we do it? And after talking with Habitat, they're like, let's do it. Let's bring them in. And I think that there's the opportunity to really expand this and expand that meeting.
And show people where those monies go.
Yeah. There are people out there that want to donate to wildlife, but they want to donate to a project, right? They don't want to just donate to a nebulous. They want to say, we helped fund this, or we. And so, yeah.
And we want to give them that opportunity.
Yeah, yes, we
To
do.
tout where their funds have gone. And we see it with, some, the existing sportsman's groups, but if others want to join in, more than happy.
Just a stupid related question to that. Has anybody ever asked Cabela's where their route up to the next dollar for wildlife conservation goes to?
So I actually talked to Troy about this a while ago, and he said that they have donated some money to like SFW. But I don't think it's a lot.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Has it been recently?
Yeah, but I think that that's a really good question for some of these big say, hey, we have this meeting, like we've got local companies that want to come and donate to
Shields,
this.
everybody.
And there's other opportunities out there. There's a thing that's going on in Idaho called Brush for Bucks. And I'm not sure of all the details behind that. I don't know, Daniel, did you know something about that or?
I've just seen the video that
Yeah.
they're promoting it.
They just had one last week.
Is it high?
Yeah.
Some of our staff have heard about that, and so we're considering those options as well. Yeah, there's lots of stuff coming out of the woodwork right now, which is really good. So, okay. So with that, we probably need to have a motion on this, right, to approve these projects that are on this list, so.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion to support the projects listed on the second page of the Habitat Council agenda for today to be funded with external conservation permit funds.
Okay, there's a motion by Tyler. We have a second from Steve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed, say no. Okay, motion carries. Thanks. All right. Okay. So now we get into the meat and potatoes of things. We're going to talk about the budget and look at the spreadsheet. So who's going to start? Daniel?
Kind of start off and then probably hand it off to Alison and Danny. If you have anything you want to chime in, let us know.
And I think while we're talking about this, so that the council there's a lot of numbers here. And so let's present them kind of with, here's like 3 options of ways to go on this so that we can at least have an idea of how they can decide to go.
So just maybe kind of walk over, Alison puts this spreadsheet together every year. She does an awesome job at tracking all the projects and all the funding sources on it. But just as you guys know, right now for fiscal 24, we have 3.4 million essentially to spend on projects. Currently, what's been presented to you guys is about $4.5 million in projects. So right now, the difference is about 1.1 million. That part of our goal today is to bring that down to as close to zero is what we're looking for. So right now we're about 133% over, or 33% over. You can see all the breakouts here for each of your programs. Ideally, we'd like to get most of those close to zero. In the end, there's probably some flexibility there, and as long as we're overall pretty close to zero, some of them could be slightly over, some of them could be slightly under. But we'll work through that as we go throughout the process today. Alison, maybe you just want to talk about some of the different categories on here on the spreadsheet. Just kind of maybe like some of the, obviously right here is the total requested for Habitat Council. You can see a lot of the other funding sources. This is conservation permit. This is federal aid, PR funds. This is Blue Ribbon right here. And then this is the request from WRI, which is not a firm number yet. Most of the other numbers are firm. This number is not.
And I did highlight a few of those numbers in that column that were close. If we wanted to fully fund it, we could, or not. And there's notes throughout of maybe some suggestions or other comments. But if you'll scroll over to the ranking, I can talk about those columns.
And I can give you access to the screen. That's easier.
But either way. So there's a couple different columns there for ranking. First of all, we have the projects that go through WRI go through the ranking process, and out of the 170 points, that is the score that they've been given in the region. We asked the region then to, in the order that they rank out, then to kind of break off, okay, these are our high, these are the medium, and these are the low. So that's what that other column is. The projects, oh, sorry, did you have a question?
I'll go ahead. I think you were gonna say what I was thinking.
Okay, the projects that didn't go through WRI that are Habitat Council only projects will have that NR next to them, not ranked. And so that's kind of something that we could talk about today within here, to help decide what projects you want to keep, want to fund and what not to fund is, if you guys feel like there's priorities here, that's where we can, definitely use that information as well to kind of rank within the Habitat Council.
So Allison, so for the council members to know, tell us why some of these projects weren't part of the WRI ranking and some are.
Okay, so a lot of the maintenance projects, WMA maintenance projects don't go through Habitat Council, or don't go through WRI. They just would never get funded in that process just because of the ranking process and all the questions asked. But, and then a lot of the WMA projects as well that are maybe not maintenance, but improvement work also would not rank well through the WRI process. So we bring them here because that's kind of the place that we've been taking care of those things.
So non-rank essentially means that it's coming to Habitat Council only. There are some conservation permit stuff there, but pretty much it means it's coming to Habitat Council.
Yeah, but they're good projects, often, usually, but they don't quite fit with the WRI type structure, and the type of criteria that are there. So it's different projects. They're not bad projects. They're just different than what is part of the WRI process, and that's why.
So some of the color coding I have in the rank, the region rank number, anything under about a 138, 139, I highlighted because we have our estimate as far as being able to go down through our list and get things funded is that we'll get down through maybe about the score of 140. So projects that have a lot of WRI asks that are below that line potentially won't get that habitat or won't get those WRI numbers. And so that could be another place that could be that we can look at to cut out Habitat Council, because if, it's pointless to put 50,000 on a project when it's asking for 700,000.
We'd either need to cut it or fully fund it.
Yeah.
Depending on the importance to the council.
Yeah, and again, that goes back to, the ranking within here, what's important to the council. And then in the other column, the rank, the high, low, medium, I highlighted those as well, just so you can see where those rank as well, as we won't make it through those as well with WRI funding.
Alison, I'm just gonna throw out, I played with this a lot. You have a great spreadsheet. You're able to play with it, manipulate it. I was able to play with it, manipulate it a lot to try to get some answers.
Yeah.
So appreciate it.
That takes a lot of mental diving into it to do that, and so appreciate that.
Does anybody have any questions about the spreadsheet?
So the other thing I'll mention, as we go through this process, we can put projects down on a contingency list, which essentially would say, right now we may not have money for it, but we think this is a great project, and if money becomes available, we'd like to put it on the contingency list. And that way, as we go throughout, some projects may get canceled or something like that, we can activate one of these projects that are on the contingency list.
Fire doesn't go out.
We did that last year with that pole haul up or pole hog, and it got funded.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
So we want to have a good list of contingencies that we can go to.
As far as order of operations, do we start with the long shots, the ones that are we the furthest away, make decisions on those to free up some funding? I mean, is that?
Yeah, that's usually what we do, is just kind of go, like I've got a bunch that I think I'm ready to kick off initially, and then just kind of go from there.
And let Tyler be the bad guy to start.
Yeah, me and Drew, we can be the bad guys. I spent a lot of time working on the spreadsheet too, and playing around with numbers.
Yeah.
Do you want me to
So
share my
can
screen?
I ask a quick question while they're bringing this up? So I was going through and I found some projects, I think the type of projects we're gonna talk about, the like borderline stuff. Like in one of them, well, I'll bring it up, the Cinnamon Creek one. I really, really like it. But it's only ranked medium, but it doesn't have any habitat money in it. It
Yeah,
has expo money, it has lots of other sources, but no habitat money itself. And I found several examples like that, and I can give you the number if you need it. But what's the logic on those types of projects?
So Cinnamon Creek actually is fully funded. The
Yeah, it's
sportsman's
fully
groups
funded
like-
without,
The sportsman's groups funded that.
okay. So I don't need to worry, because that was one on my list, like, no, I'm gonna fight for this one.
Yeah, that one's funded.
Okay.
Yeah, so any of the green on the spreadsheet, those are projects that we had originally had on our list, but the sportsman's picked up the full funding, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I didn't know the coding on that one. That would
Sorry.
save me some- No, that's not you. So,
So a lot of these, yeah, were funded by other sources of funding, and since, you know, our Habitat Council money, we're trying to make it go as far down the list as possible. And so we're okay if other groups or other entities have funded a lot of these really good projects. A lot of that you're gonna see, WRI ends up funding a lot of stuff that could have come from it, but it didn't because it's already funded. And so, that's a lot of these.
okay, and I wasn't certain if that would be the case, if it was so far ranking that like, we don't really want to use that money,
Yeah.
you know, for that and put it somewhere else. I wasn't sure how that would work. So-
And that's what we do when a project that's a medium ranked project comes to the sportsman's groups and needs a lot of funding. I'll actually push the groups to put more money on it because I know that WRI probably won't be able to pick up any of it. And most of the time they respond. If they don't, then we'll go through this whole process and we'll end up going back to the sportsman's groups and saying, look, this did not get any additional funding. Choice A, do you want to add to it? Or choice B, the funding's going back to you.
Which is kind of probably a similar process for Habitat Council, you know, there's a project, this council would have to fully fund it if it's that high of a priority for the council. Otherwise, there's probably not a lot of potential for other funding sources.
Do you want me to start my slasher movie?
You're the one with the big money, so just start.
Okay, let's just, I've got a couple rounds of slashing, just based mostly on where they rank through WRI. And then I also look quite a bit at how the sportsman's groups respond to them. So the first one on the list is Diamond Fork, 6616. This is one that didn't rank very high, still needs $134,000. It's a good project. It's one that I hope we can pick up with some fire rehab money if we get that fire rehab money. So it'll kind of get included in that ask for next year. So that's one that I would put on the contingency list.
Do you want me to just
Did
start?
we see the breakdown? Could you scroll over a little bit further so we can see from the game?
And do you want me just to start moving them down and then we can move things back up if we need to?
So I've got 6 projects that I want to cut. So I'll go through all the projects and I'll make a motion.
Be a big one for Ben, not much for me there.
Okay, the next one is 6584.
That's why I love Tyler. I mean, he knows the ins and outs.
What's the name?
6584 is Ephraim Watershed Restoration Phase 4. So this is one that also came through WRI, didn't rank as high as we would like it to. It also went to shared stewardship, and we met with shared stewardship yesterday. They're not supporting this project. And so it's $1 million project and 50,000 is not going to do anything for it. So that one I would also put on the contingency list.
Did shared stewardship say why they weren't supporting it? Just too wildlife?
Yeah, just
for them?
Yeah, too wildlife. Exactly. That's exactly what they told me. It was presented with too many wildlife pictures and not enough talk about fuels reduction. Shared stewardship does not have wildlife as part of their ranking process, so that's one I hope will come back next year, rank a little higher, and we can support that.
That's it. Well, these are some of the discussions that we'll have with our staff too about, presenting projects. Of course, and they don't know whether it's gonna be, funded more through WRI proper or if shared stewardship's gonna come into it. So it's hard for them to know a lot of times how to show the project and that maybe we can work with our staff if we know it's gonna go that direction to show more of the benefits for fire reduction, even though has huge benefit to wildlife too.
Bump and scatter,
Right.
whole hog,
Right, and so,
fuel reduction.
but like I said, a lot of times that's hard to know. And usually our staff are already really good, tuned in as to where they think it's gonna go. And but sometimes it goes differently, like we're seeing here, so.
Okay, the next one is 6731, Paragon Wetlands Water Control Improvement, Phase 3. This is another one that came through WRI, didn't do very well. I think this is something that at some point we got to figure out how to do these because we've done the engineering for them. But yeah, it needs 100 grand. And so this is one we either got to bump up or we've got to remove it from the list. So right now my recommendation is to remove it.
So what we'll do, we'll let Tyler build the list and then let's look them all at all those together. And you guys can comment specifically and decide on what to do.
The next one is 6602, Abajo Mountains, MXRX. Yeah, I know. Again, didn't rank very high. No sportsman's groups. Support for it. It needs $650,000 more. So I recommend removing that 20 grand from Habitat Council.
And that was also another one that went to shared stewardship that was not funded.
Right. Yeah, we were really hoping for shared stewardship money on that. And then, sorry, Southern Region Kendall, especially the Fillmore WMA Habitat 6681 needs 192,000. That's a tough one given how over allocated we are this year, especially in big game. So for now, I'm recommending kicking that one down.
And hopefully at some point that could also be a fire rehab.
Yeah, that one too. And then
Or fast track, just go with it.
yeah, fast track for sure. And then the last one is 6700 Cedar Springs Marina Flaming Gorge Reservoir Floating Trail System. Drew and I talked about this one, and I think we're kind of on the same page with this one. I think this one missed a couple steps. It's a good project, but I really think it should be one that applies for the outdoor rec grant. All of those outdoor rec grant categories will be available to state and federal agencies next year. I think this would be a perfect project for both of them to go together on that and try to get funding for that. Anything else?
No, just that there's also a recreation access planning process that the Forest Service and us and others are involved in on the Flaming Gorge. And it seems like this is jumping ahead of that process. So I think if we give it a year, probably have a better chance of some other funding and a bigger plan for the Flaming Gorge.
And that's my first round.
But look what your round did. Now we're only 500,000 over.
Well, and if you look at the sports fish,
It's in the black now.
it's in the black. And so the number
Way to
that,
go, man.
the number that we gotta pay attention to is the actual total number.
Yeah.
So 114%, still about 500,000 over, and I'll shut up for now.
Ben, can I have some of your funds before Randy gets them?
Let's find some more sport fish projects. No, I'm joking.
Okay, so, are we able to look at that first chunk that, together? And, maybe look at some of the numbers there and. So, yeah, just that Cedar Springs Marina one, that's a big chunk.
was huge too.
Yeah.
Those are
I
some
hate
that
to
I've
have-
looked at too, so I'm in agreement with
Okay.
Tyler.
All right. Any other comments?
Has a raised hand.
Mark, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you could put some of that sport fish money back on the river part of the Diamond Fork project and not worry, just, we could put that part of the project, do that side of it, but not the other part, if that's something you wanted to do.
Okay, thanks, Mark. That's an idea. Any questions about that? I guess I would have looked to Drew and probably Ben for any comment on that.
Why didn't it rank high during the meeting, Tyler?
I mean, that's hard to say without, looking into the actual scores. I think that, it did rank high. That's the problem. It got 138 out of 170. And our cutoff that we're kind of thinking we get to is 140. So it's right there. It's right on the bubble. It's just one of those that, I don't know, it could go either way. My note on the list that I went through was we either need to fund it entirely or cut it. So
How much more money does it need on that?
94,000.
94. And we already have committed 40.
and I was also hoping that would be one that, it's a lot of it is fire rehab related. The stream portion of it could be considered as part of fire rehab. And would have been honestly funded with fire rehab if we had gotten fire rehab this last round, but we did not. And so that one and Fillmore, the fence and stuff like that, those I think will all be included in the next fire rehab request. But it's just gonna get ugly this year. We're so over allocated that it's a tough year.
And just looking at the budget on that, most of the stuff is more stream oriented anyways on it, so you probably almost have to focus on most of it.
It's probably ready for some stream rehab. It's been, what, Mark, 4 or 5 years since that fire?
See, that was 2018.
So it's probably
Then
about, but I guess it depends on, we need to do the work. And it depends on whether that money's gonna come through for fire rehab. That'd make my opinion different. If the money's not a sure thing,
It's not.
then, moving it to that project makes sense to me.
Yeah, they've been working on the stream. I think last year, this is just a stretch they haven't worked on, so anyway, we can do whatever, so.
Okay. So that one could be a maybe.
Just if you guys wanted to look at what they're asking me for. Here's the budget.
Got a lot of the string work.
Yeah. I think only about the 32,000 for seed is most of the other stuff, but maybe some archaeology, the rest of it would be fish stuff.
The work would be timely.
Yeah.
And additionally, I think the central region has done a really good job of quieting the trout unlimited folks. And just putting them off till it is, time to do the work. And I think the longer you put them off now, the more difficult that's gonna be to keep them calm.
Okay. Tyler, what's the timing on
potential for fire rehab money that could be,
It'll be like,
I mean, it's next year, right?
yeah, it'll be next year.
So that puts off for a year as a maybe. And like Drew said, you know, after big fires, you want to wait 3 or 4, even 5 years of time. Those are where we're right in that window. Now's probably the time to act on that. And, you know, like I said, other Edgley folks have wanted us to do this for a while, and we've kind of been pushing off just because, you know, the landscape needs to heal a little bit before you go do a whole bunch of work. Otherwise it just gets blown out again real fast. And so we're kind of in that window now where it's time to move.
Yep.
So. Okay. So that's one to consider to fully fund from us. Any other questions on any of the others from Tyler's list? Feeling bad about Fillmore and Bajo, I'll be honest. But
Yeah,
not
it's
much
gonna
we
get
can do.
worse.
I'd like to say this was the easy.
Yeah.
Wait till you hear my next round. Gary's really gonna hate me. People are gonna question my commitment to the Southern region.
So
Glad I grew up. How can you do that? You worked down there, right?
So do you want me to put that Diamond Fork back up with full funding or leave it on the contingency for now?
Let's see if there's any other questions on any of these others for this first cut, and then maybe make a decision on this list that could, you know, moving that one back up. That's up for you guys to decide.
I mean, I don't know that we need to make a motion. I think a motion's probably good for the very end.
Yeah, we've
but
already made a motion to.
If anybody feels any, like really strongly about any of those I put down there and wants to put it back up or a portion of them back up.
Yeah, any of these other ones you want to discuss?
there's nothing that's gonna go on that list that's not gonna leave a little bit of a bad taste, because almost all these projects I really liked.
Right.
For sure.
So,
Every year this
well, last year was easy though. We had money.
We had
money last year. And so this meeting was really easy last year.
And unfortunately, so the money we committed last year is being implemented right now, and with this long winter, it's pushing a bunch of these projects off that probably, so a bunch of that money we committed for last year probably either won't happen or will be partial. And so that puts money back in our bank account that we don't have access to until we ask for it again. So worked with our director's office, and they've committed to help us try to get access to more of that money, but it would become available until the next round for FY25. And so by hopefully this time next year, we're instead of talking about 3.4 million, we're talking more about 3.8 or 4 million. So some of that money will come back around, but it takes a couple of years to go through the process to see it again. It was good that we had more money last year, but some stuff has messed us up with the winter, and which is good and bad.
So what happens at this point? Do we bring up our sacrificial lambs?
Yeah, start.
Okay. So I'll put it in order, Gary, I'm sorry, just because you're at the top of the list. Well, and just because that's where I happened to start looking. And I didn't write down the names, I just wrote down the numbers, 6691. I really like the project, and I just want to decrease the amount of funding, because I don't want to eliminate the project. But I think it's too much money. I mean, it's $30-something thousand, if I remember right, almost $30,000. Oh, no, it's $32,000. That's a tenth of my budget. So I was gonna recommend dropping it by like $8,000, something like that.
So what number was that again?
6691.
It's the Avant WMA maintenance.
Yeah. And I didn't even look at any of the regional maintenance budgets because I thought it wasn't fair. But if it came down to individual WMAs, I thought it was fair, was my logic. Also, my number is going to be small compared to your guys's, but I went through, I eliminated anything that was, I didn't look at anything that was ranked high. And I deleted out everything that was low and medium, assuming that you weren't going to make the cut. So my list got very small for the things that I could look at. So this is one of the things that came up on my list. But Gary, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Is it capable of getting enough done?
Because it's Lynn Zubek, who's actually the manager of this thing, and I don't supervise him, so I'm.
Oh, don't you? Oh,
No, but I, he's an amazing violist that does.
Sure. No.
He's one of the places we really are doing true upland game work, and it's.
And the reason it came up is just because the dollar amount.
Yeah.
I was trying to find areas so that I could lose money.
Is that why this doesn't fit in your normal WMA maintenance budget? Is because it's.
So Lynn has his own WMA maintenance budgets that are separate from our regional ones. So he has one that's, this one specifically because it's not a PR property, it has its own account. And then the other one is the upland and waterfowl WMA maintenance, which are all PR eligible properties. So they share the US 75-25 split on them. And so we haven't been able to lump those because of that PR exclusion.
This is my opportunity to throw in a cheap shot. This is what pisses me off about that stupid bill they passed this year. Because these types of projects don't get any PR money. And it's a crock that money was taken away. But anyway, so that was, and I didn't realize you didn't supervise them. I was hoping people would be here.
But I represent him.
Yeah. So is it doable without the money?
He's gonna spend every dollar you give him and ask for forgiveness when he overspends, I'm sure.
So, but anyway, so I would recommend just reducing that dollar amount on that one.
Would you reduce it to one of the other categories to reduce your amount? There is some other big game components to it, or just reduce the.
It's almost 100%.
Yeah, it was 90.
I think it was 100%, wasn't it?
Those percentages and amounts can all.
Yeah, so I wasn't.
5 big game.
Yeah, because of
5 non-game, big game.
Because of the breakup on it, I wasn't gonna argue because all the work, and I remember his presentation on this, all the work is for upland, or pretty much all of it. So and it'd be passing the buck to try to change the percent on this. So I was just gonna recommend less money. I don't, but that's was one of the reasons for my call to you the other day. I don't know if that's something that can fairly be done or not, but I was just looking for ways to do it. So that was gonna be my recommendation on that one.
So you want to drop it by 8,000?
Yeah, I said like 8,000.
So drop it to 28. What else you got?
Let's jump to the northeast, 6662. Sorry, I should have written down the.
That's actually just fine we like it when people talk numbers.
What number did you say, 6662?
Correct.
Monty's Creek.
And so, and I'll get feedback from you guys, and there's a lot of big game here. I like the project, but I'm not certain. I can slash money or move it to contingency. And this is one that you might want to speak to, Steve, because there's as much money for you on this as there is for me.
What was the breakdown on it, do you remember?
I think it's 45-45.
Yeah, with 5 going to waterfowl, so it's 30,600 for big game. Same for upland, and then 3,400 for waterfowl.
So I don't want to speak for other people's money, but this was a pretty big chunk for me. So that's why it's on my radar.
It is phase 1. I mean, I like the project, but I'd rather cut a phase 1 than a phase 2 or 3 of a project. But
I mean, I can throw it down there and.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any money coming in from other sources, or am I wrong on this one? Some of this I'm doing by memory. Yeah, only $2,000 from expo funds. So that's a token amount. Another reason it came up on my radar.
Does anybody know if there's any water right issues that we gotta use that water or anything on that one?
He's shaking his head back there.
And Pat's online as well.
That worries me a little bit.
Pat, anything you want to mention about this project?
Yes, no, it's a good point, Steve. It is important that we use those water rights or we're at risk of losing those. And something that just came up in the last week, we are applying for a water optimization grant to help fund some of this project. And there's also a local sportsman's group that's looking for a place to put their dollars as well. And they were interested in this project. So we do have some other funds in the works and are applying for those. But to speak to your first point, yeah, that applies to all division lands. It is important that we use those water rights and maximize the benefit that we get out of those.
Is there something on this that you could get done with a lesser amount of money? I mean, we still have $500,000 to go, so we're gonna have to take it from somewhere. So could this be done for less and still start using those waters?
I think with the applying for additional funds, we could go a little bit less on that and hope that we make up the rest of the funding in the next month or so.
How much are you hoping to get from the other sources in the sportsman's group? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. I don't want these projects to go away, but.
No, it's okay. I think maybe 60-75% of what I'm asking for there, I could possibly get from other funding sources.
Does that water optimization require any kind of matching funds?
That's a good point, Daniel. Yeah, they match up to 50%.
So with the funds from the other sportsman's group and that, you could do the project and then some? If my math's right?
Well, I would like to do both pivots. This is a phase one, but if there was an and some in there, that would go towards the second pivot, towards the second phase.
But for right now, I mean, if you got your grant, you would need essentially 35,000 in order to have matching funds for that other funding source, correct?
Correct.
Which some of the sportsman's dollars could be.
Yeah, we could cut it down.
Well, yeah, why don't we, based upon his feedback, what if we cut that down? I think he said he could do it for 65%. What if we did 65% of that number? I don't know. I can't do that in the math in my head. That's why you have the calculator, Alison.
Yeah, or Pat, if you have a number, your minimum amount on that, you can tell us that.
I could do half of that.
Of 34?
Yes.
And if that's the case, unless that's on Tyler's hit list, I think that leaves that one absolutely alone.
Oh, it's different on the database. It's 70,000 on the database. Oh, it's because we got $2,000 from Smart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He may have some more as well.
Anything else on that one? And I'm just going, I'm no particular order. This is just as I was going through. 6526. This one, I just saw, I didn't see enough impact on Upland on this to justify my Upland dollars. And you're not saying that there's zero impact, but I'm picking what I think will have the biggest bang for my
On
bucks.
that too, Alison.
They're right there, 45,
Oh, okay.
20, 10, 10, 20.
Yeah, and again, I think it's a good project, but I don't think I can support just because I have to pick where my money goes.
So is your recommendation to put it on a contingency list?
Contingency list or take mine off completely.
Yeah, I'd say we just put it on the contingency for now.
And that one could be, you know, probably partial.
Next one, 6519. I say put on contingency at best. It's a small project. And honestly, I think it's a maintenance project for the region, but that's just my opinion. It's real small dollar amount though.
It gives me heartburn too, but those are my lips.
Yeah, so that one can easily come off.
It needs work, don't get me wrong.
Oh,
I
yeah,
have a
but-
hard time throwing money at something that's not huntable.
And like I said, I just don't see where that's anything but a maintenance thing. So, 6206. I really like this one. I don't want to put it on a contingency list, but I'm wondering, and Daniel was here, can we do this one for less? I think it needs to be done, but it's enough dollar amount that I'm concerned with it.
Yeah, so, the deal with Coldwater, our fences are awful there. The neighbors have cows. We had a fire there a few years ago. We got it rehabbed, looks beautiful. We can't keep the cows out of it.
Where is this at, Dan?
It's up by Honeyville on the Wellsville Mountains on the west side, so it's north of Brigham City.
Okay.
So let me get, I think the project needs to happen. I'm just wondering if it can happen for less.
Well, we could do part of the fence. So this is pretty much almost an entire rebuild of the boundary fence that borders all the neighbors, except for the north part that borders the Forest Service. So we could do maybe half of it.
Would that, if we did half of it, did what would that be, the west side? Would that take care of the cattle problem?
I don't think that we get the whole west side now if we did half. But we could do part of it where most of the cattle grazing is at. It's just, the fences are really horrible. Besides not keeping the cows out, they're dangerous for wildlife too. There's loose wires and there's net wires still there from when they used to graze sheep. So I'd like to get the fences replaced as soon as possible, but we can for sure scale that back for we can make cuts. It's a good question, Randy.
And this one impacts you a lot too, Steve. And this was a relatively small percent for me, but it's a large dollar amount. And like I said, it pisses me off to be talking about this one because I know this one needs to happen.
Right.
But so whatever your thoughts are on that, Steve. Like I said, the majority of it's your money, and I want the project
It looks
to
like
happen.
25 and 25, we're split equal.
85, 15.
Oh, I'm off on one. Oh.
Yeah, this is one of those, we can make it happen.
I'll tell you what I struggle with. I struggle with investing money into a project and then not protecting that project.
Yeah.
So in my mind, if I had to make a cut, it wouldn't be a cut to ensure that a project we've already spent money on is secured. And I hate building fence as much as the next person. And if we don't, I've seen projects be ruined. And so that's where I'm struggling with it. Like,
What's the project, Daniel, that's been done?
The receiving from the bird.
So there was a target shooting fire out there, that burned a good chunk of the sagebrush that was on the WMA. And so that's all been reseeded and it's coming back really nice. Like if you were driving down the interstate last spring and looked over to the east at the WMA, it was like an island of green and brown, like all the neighbors are brown.
Which means again, all those cows will be
And that's
camped
no
right out on the road.
exaggeration. I mean, that's completely true with what you just described.
I mean,
Can we-
a bunch in spring, the cheatgrass there. Yeah.
What percentage here?
Let's wait and see.
It's like leave that up there and let's highlight it or something to go back to it if we can.
Okay. And then just a super small one, 6669. It's a small one, but I thought we could easily put it off.
The seasonal?
Ooh, did I write down the wrong one? That's not the employee one.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, okay, no, my bad then. I'm wrong. I wish I could remember which one I read for that.
You remember any of the title?
I did write down, I just wrote down numbers on everything.
What region?
Yeah, that was southeast, but those are my sacrificial lambs. Those are.
So did we keep cold water then, or did we put it?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else got any sacrificial lamb?
So mine are on the items to discuss on the bottom. So I don't really,
So on your agenda, there's
yeah, on the
Bunch of the
agenda, that
Great Salt
bottom,
Lake
yeah,
items.
those were my things to talk about, so they're on the bottom, so I don't wanna throw them up there if we're gonna discuss them already.
Yeah, what's the deal with those? Cause some of them are still on here.
So they're all on there. I kind of put them on there, when we had the waterfowl meeting. There's a lot of funds out there right now for the Great Salt Lake. And so that's kind of why during our discussion during that meeting, we kind of said, hey, these are some projects that are likely, could potentially be funded by other funding sources. We don't know if they will or will not be. There are some grants being put together to apply for some funds for those.
But
one is a DOR grant. We just don't know at this point whether they'll be funded or not.
Yeah, so during that meeting, we committed to take a bunch of these projects to these other funding sources to
Right.
reduce our amount.
Right.
And so this is that list of those projects that we're gonna try to get funded either through Great Salt Lake Trust.
So do we
or
move those
other
to the
grants.
contingency part down there? I can tell you like that, I think it's 6723.
I was just looking that one
The
up.
Ogden Bay, that one. So I've been talking to Rich Hansen in regards to that one, and it will not happen this year.
Yeah.
It won't, because of the water, as much water we have, he won't, it's not even possible, so he can even remove that.
Oh, yeah, I had already zeroed this out on the habitat request, but
But I mean, there's
Yeah.
still others, like the State Canal water, I mean, I get it, but what,
Yeah, so that one
That's
we
right.
reviewed, but it's likely we're gonna fund that through these other grants for sure.
Okay.
And so I'm like 99.5% sure that there won't be Habitat Council money on that project.
and those were my, like I had the State Canal, I had the Farmington Bay Dike, and yeah, those are the two that I really were.
The two big ones.
Yeah, I was struggling with.
So State Canal and Farmington Bay Dike.
Yeah, 6658 and 6619.
That's a lot of money.
And then the last one you guys brought at the last meeting, I think it was, it's not, 6766. It's those pedestrian bridges, the Farmington Bay and Salt Creek.
Yeah, and that one was a different one that kind of came on us. That was like an OSHA compliance
Right,
thing.
exactly.
And so, but
I get it.
yeah,
Does that have to happen then? I mean, is that like a must fund or?
That was my
it
question.
has to happen soon.
What-
Maybe not all of it this year.
I heard soon.
Well, can we get funding on a project like that? Can we submit that as, facilities?
That's one of the ideas. We brought
That's
that
what
up
he's
through.
requesting, that it's
So-
Brian Test project.
Yeah.
You mean like DFCM? right?
Yes, but can DFCM, if they're existing bridges, is that something that we could get, at what are the odds
I
or?
think we're willing to apply for anybody who might have.
What are the bridges for? Is it for hunting access?
Yeah,
Some of them
so
are hunting
a
access.
couple years
Get
ago.
outdoor rec grant for it too.
Be possible. So a couple years ago, the division applied for a lot of PR money for bridge repair across the WMAs. And so he's trying to use up the last bit of that money. Part of the problem is the projects he was doing are more than that. So that's why director's kind of office directed him or
Are there any of these gonna get washed out this year?
Due to weather,
I think, and that's why this Ogden Bay one's probably going away. I mean,
That's
there's-
exactly why.
I think at this time next year, there's gonna be a whole slew list of Ogden Bay and Farmington Bay and.
Then isn't this an easy one to kick off to next year? We're not mandated we have to do it, and it might get washed out. And
Yeah, we'll have to
the
look
funding
at what
sources.
those timing requirements are on that. So, but we have committed that we want to try to 100% fund that this year. But the situation might change that for us. So, but I think that this PR money is there to help
Throw it out as Canadian said.
later access. That's what we're looking for, is the match for the PR.
Hope you have a canoe.
Set aside.
Just buy a little canoe and put it there.
And so that I think that bridge grant times out here.
Tyler solved it.
This year. What's that?
I was gonna buy a Coleman canoe for each of those access.
Just attach it to a rope.
No, it's
Hold it back and forth.
BYOP, bring your own paddle, but we'll provide the canoe.
use your shotgun, but.
Works, yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
those were mine. I mean, those were my,
A quick question, not to, on the, and I might be remembering wrong, but on the Farmington Bay Dike, wasn't that one that has to, it seems like I remember in the presentation that has to happen, or am I remembering wrong?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
Because I remember, it seemed like there's a couple dike ones that like, this is an issue, like it has to be taken care of.
Well, it's not that it won't happen. It's one of those that will be asking for other funding.
And Farmington Creek really goes, Farmington Creek really lets loose.
It might be a bad day to work anything down there.
Right.
Eric's like, it doesn't really matter.
So that, I mean, those three, kicking those three out gets us to 102%. Is that good enough? Or we gotta get it to 100%?
Well, if that's the case, I'm taking some of my sacrificial lambs back off the table.
Yeah. Well, the point of this list is we're gonna try to fully fund these projects through these other sources of
Right.
money and try not to have any Habitat Council money on there. But,
and I know they all need to be done, but I just struggle a little bit, especially where, like we talked about, you could reach out to different avenues to try to.
Matt, you might be doing them a favor with the water that's gonna come down and to hold off a year on them.
Yeah, equipment out there to figure out.
Yep.
I don't want to throw a wrench in things, but since the sportfish budget's under budget, I would like to see Diamond Fork move off the contingency list and fund it,
All of it or just the?
all of it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be the jerk here, Steve, but there's gonna have to be some big income off the table, because that one needs to come back on. That puts us back in the hole.
And I've already, I mean, I'm giving up money anyway. I mean, we're under budget even if we fund Diamond Fork, so.
No, I'm with you, cause you saved us last year, and it's not fair for you to save us again.
Yeah.
So.
How much is it?
Oh, but that one we'd have to do the full amount, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 134.
455.
Well, that's not the tab button.
Ooh. Really big.
Hey, anybody else got any that are burning a hole in their pocket?
Do we want to talk about any of these?
I mean, I've got some more. No, if everybody else is done, I've got some.
Okay, let's have your.
What's your number one pick, Tyler?
I mean, this is just gonna be another round of they're ranked too low
To get funded.
to get
other
fully
sources.
funded. So the next one on my list is Yellow Jacket, 6511.
Can we look at that one? I don't
That
remember.
says it's right high.
It's a regional rank.
But the region rank is low.
It's just
The
the
number, it's the one
score is
score.
132.
What's the number on that one again?
65.
Like we can get BLM funded any year right there.
Yeah, and this was for the Sitla portion. And, I mean, it's not sage grouse, so, I don't know. I'd love to see Sitla put money in, but they don't put money into anything that's not sage grouse.
So the BLM polygons are funded?
It's a big project.
Likely.
Pretty much.
Which is
We haven't
yellow-
met with them
It's all
yet.
yellow stuff, and so
Yeah.
the sitless, so what you're really talking about is the stuff that's over on that blue polygon.
That's right here.
Yeah, we'll just have our nice little straight lines around those that I hate, but
Well, that's leaving such a small area left over, it might be hard to get back to that,
it will be hard to get back to.
because to mobilize equipment for this, a small chunk, that sucks.
No, we're definitely in the distasteful part of the cut.
What's our amount? It
It's not a huge amount, I think it was just 20.
But it needs. How much?
Oh, we had 40 on it. So it did get a little bit of expo, and it's requesting 1.3 total. Or it's still, sorry, 1.4 total. Let me bring up the budget here. BLM is potentially bringing 917,000.
And you'll fund it with WRI, so the only thing
No.
is, you're not gonna fund it.
No, that's why I'm doing this.
So they're gonna be, they'll be
It'll be a-
400,000 short.
It'll be a BLM only project.
Probably have to pull out.
And they can also
Will they still do it?
potentially pull out this future cultural resources.
Almost like recalling them.
Or because it's pretty massive project. It's 4,600 acres, so they definitely could face it.
That makes sense.
Okay. The next one is 1,000 Lakes. $65, $63.
My question on that, my note on that is there was a lot of ECP funds on this.
Oh yeah, all everything left on my list. Well, okay, here's what it kind of comes down to be. Either 1,000 Lakes, or the fence at Indian Peaks.
He laughs over there, he just chuckles. Oh.
Which one of your kids do you like the most?
Could, Alison, can we, I'm not certain who's driving, can we look at that? 'Cause I don't remember both, I'm not gonna pretend to remember.
Both of them?
Yeah, but it needs.
Just
it
a
needs
quick
to be
view of the, probably the title sheet will give me enough.
And that county
This is
issue.
1,000 Lakes.
This is.
It's a lot with scattered treatment,
Okay.
so.
What's the reality of contract funding? You guys have a sense?
We'll put you on top of the list.
Yeah.
Indian Peaks, I know.
You can do
Nothing
the
else
fence.
I can knock out getting material bought.
How much is that, you think?
So I always figure it's about half and half, so 50 grand, I can drop the material side to my one, no problem.
Okay.
Same project, different locations. Yeah. Which
I mean,
do you like?
the fence was, this was the one that the horses were ruining in the county, like not an issue.
It's not a question to me, the Indian Peaks is the one that's very big, but I'm trying to find a way that, I don't like how you deal. I want to figure out how to do both.
You're not funding this one through WRI?
No.
This
It
meeting.
didn't even go to WRI.
Is there,
No, it did, yeah. it did.
was there any
Just-
difference between these two projects and what's come in from other sources?
Yeah, what was the
So this
conservation
$50,000
permit
matter, you need
So,
190,000.
60,000, 40,000
We
likes?
were only trying to get.
and nothing from
fence. No, this is the fence project. This is the other. Oh,
Did we even present
Did we
that?
present that? I don't know if it,
Yeah.
Yeah. that was-
Like, I don't
60 grand
remember
for
that one.
sports group.
at all.
It needs another.
Could we still,
50
if the Indian, if the Indian Peaks is a better project, can we steal the money for Thousand Lakes?
Even if I
Put it on that from the
if you
expo funds?
Yeah, we'd have to pull it from.
We have to.
You have to ask the
We have to
group.
ask.
Yeah, no, and I realize that, but I just didn't know if that's something that would be possible.
And that's what we would do, like, we would say, okay, we didn't fund Thousand Lakes, and we'd go back to the groups and say, what do you wanna
That's
do?
where my next thought was going is if we say, okay, if Tyler is serious and you guys agree with him, you'll have to. If you agree with him, and I have to pick one or the other, and then we can be peak, I would ask, can we go back to the sportsman groups and say, we're still this much short on Thousand Lake, can we make it up? I wouldn't be surprised.
What did you guys do to Tyler when he worked down there?
Getting a broken tractor award, right?
I know.
Yeah, I remember the Indian Peaks one now. That's a really good one.
That's an important one too, with the horses and stuff.
The fence is critical. Yeah, all of it is off.
What were the two parts, fence and?
And then prescribed fire and or bullhog.
You feel it.
They tried to do that so that the fire doesn't happen.
Tyler's like stone cold, bro.
I'm getting the impression that part's.
Heartless bastard.
Okay,
So
we wanna
put
make
down 1,000 on the contingency. Is what kind of what you're saying?
So Kobe's whispering in my ear about that one. He really likes that one, so I think we might be able to pull some money out of him for that one.
ICP.
So I say leave 1,000 on and kick Indian Peaks off with the goal of putting it on the fast track list. And we'll fund it, we'd fund the whole 100,000 on the fast track list.
With the knowledge you're gonna have to carry over part of it.
Okay. You're okay with
I mean,
that?
I know I can buy the materials by July 1 and we'll build as much as we can by July 1, but there's no guarantees.
So how can you come up with money for Thousand Peaks, but not Indian? Or only if you can share.
It's it's the location and pressure.
Pretty important politically.
That's what it comes down to. And my rationale is too, is that the fence and Indian Peaks is important, but we haven't done the project there yet. So it still needs a fire.
We've done a lot of projects.
Well, sure, but it still needs the big fire and some other work, so.
I know the one we put in the cash on top of the list last year got funded, and it was probably bigger than Indian Peaks. The pole, hollow, up and scatter, if we put that Indian Peaks top on the list, is it gonna get funded this year?
With what?
With whatever you funded pole hollow with last year, I mean,
Indian Peaks fence or?
the fence is,
The fire's too much money.
yeah,
The rest of it's
the
all
fence
right.
part.
The fence, I will fast track it, so we'll give him money in this year with leftover money from Habitat Council. Because that's one thing that when
money
we,
we didn't
when we
spend.
only allocate to 100%, there's tons of projects that come in under budget. And at the end of the year, sometimes these guys have a big property purchase or something like that, but there's always money left over. So we put out a fast track request, basically say, if you've got a project that you wanted to do next year that you can get done before the end of June, let us know and we'll green light some of those. And so that's what Gary's saying is he can get a lot of that done. So we'll green light it, give it 100 grand. He'll spend as much of it as he can, hopefully all of it. And then we'll carry over the rest so he can finish it.
Sounds good.
And the sooner you approve that, the more likely I am that we get done by July 1, but no pressure.
I'll send you a Costco tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like your fencing
We can put fence
contract.
contracts out in a hurry. We set it up a little bit. It literally, if I just get told yes, it'll be out within 2 or 3 days.
And relying on faulty memory again, it seems like you had some good
Yeah.
meadows work being done in there too.
Some good,
So work on some meadows. Am I remembering wrong?
there's a lot of different components to that project. And again, it's just coming to the fact that we're just paring back and saying the fence is all that. We kind of made a soft commitment to Beaver County this year because they're changing an ordinance for us. We're gonna get our fence to the spec that matches that ordinance.
Yeah, that was kind of the politics side of that one. Okay, so we're kind of at a little bit of a stopping point. Mark Farmer has a question, but we're past our break time. Let's take a 10-minute break and come back and we'll go through some more off of Tyler's list. Second round.
Second round.
And,
So is that an accurate number?
We're getting close, aren't we?
Hold on, he's not with you.
Yes.
Okay, 10-minute break. Paul, we're on a 10-minute break.
That one, I really did not.
Yes, he's gotta go by.
Postpone.
what goes on.
Paul, one more minute.
Copy, thank you. Coming back from break.
So we just need to make Mexico who's
I said 2 minutes.
23.
That was my last one.
That's sad.
You have to go on another.
Okay, Paul, we're ready whenever you are.
Thank you. Recorders are running.
Okay. Okay, we're back on.
Okay, 6728.
Actually, we're gonna pause.
You want me to keep slashing and cutting?
No. You wanna review what Mark's question is on 6584? Maybe you can ask Mark to do it too. I mean, he's on, so.
Are you, Alison, we just go to the video or Mark's conversation in the chat?
I can summarize it for you if you like.
Go for it, Mark.
So basically, the Forest Service prepped for the burn last year. So they dropped trees that they plan on the leaves turning brown and being ready to carry ground fire for the burn this summer. So putting that off would make that not work so well because all those leaves will fall off and won't carry the fire they want. So we have $65,000 from the sportsman group. So we just need $100,000 total to pull off that burn this year, and the Forest Service is providing the rest. So if that was the bare minimum we get done this year, that would save that project work we did last year.
So the sportsman gave that 65,000, so you need 35.
Perhaps we could get some more sportsman group money that on a project maybe that's not going to happen.
That would be my recommendation is we cut a bunch of projects today, Mark, and so we're going to be going back to the sportsman's groups and basically giving them kind of our recommendation for where to put that money. So that would be my recommendation, either that or ICP.
Tyler,
It won't take a lot to get that done, so.
Shared stewardship, did they commit 100,000 for that portion of it? Not for the rest of the work?
I don't remember. You were in that meeting too.
That's what I was remembering, is that
Did they do that?
so it was their number 2 ranked project,
Okay.
but they only had 100,000 listed for the, what was that? You want it? So that might be covered.
So it was shared stewardship number 2 project. I think the Forest Service was planning on putting 100,000 for the RX fire on that one, for the new canyon part of that project.
Okay, so it's covered?
I think it's gonna be covered. We haven't seen their final numbers. These were just estimates that they were giving us, so we don't fully know that that's what they're gonna put on it, but that's what they're kind of.
Okay, so let's say this then. So Mark, I guess we're looking at probably shared stewardship will cover that. And if not, we'll have this one, close to the top of the list of the projects we go back to sports groups to transfer other monies to. We commit to that. Does that sound okay?
That sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You guys good with that? Okay. Ms. Allison's done typing. You can run, Tyler. Let the horses out.
Okay.
Okay, 6728. This is the Bitter Creek Habitat Improvement Project for the Northeastern region. I think this was probably Tom it might have been kind of his first attempt at putting a project in. I'd like to see him bring it back next year. I'd like to see him bring it through WRI, beef it up a little bit. I think it has potential to be a good project, but in my mind, it's not quite ready for prime time yet. Pat, your thoughts on that?
Hey, Tyler. Well, I think as far as priority goes in the Book Cliffs area, this one mainly targeted elk summer range. There's some deer use in there, but I guess if you're going to be the slasher today, we'll that one will be okay for the Book Cliffs, but no more in the Book Cliffs, please.
I'll go back to the southern region.
Do we
No,
need to bring a boxing ring to our section meeting next week for habitat
Can
managers?
you please video it so we can see?
The next one is gonna be painless. So the next one I'll look at is 6545, which is the Weber River Watershed Restoration and Forest Resilience. This is the highest ranked project in WRI statewide. I think we can take that 50,000 down to 10,000, and that'll get us to where we need to be. Because that one will get funded.
Okay, you're gonna fund it.
I had a heart attack when you first said that, like, this is a great.
It is a great project.
Good job. And we're over by $900.
I'll take it. Kirby,
I'll take it.
We'll put it towards Indian people.
And kudos to the fish guys for being willing to support the big game guys again this year.
I mean, I hate to say this, but I'd like to see the biologists bring more fish stuff to the table, because that's not fair, in my opinion. It wouldn't be fair if it was.
Work's getting done though, and that's what's important. We're getting what we need done.
Good to hear, dear.
In some years, it's opposite.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to believe, but other states aren't as blessed as we are with the Habitat Council and Blue Ribbon, and it's WRI. It's when you hear some of the woe stories in other states, it's pretty refreshing that you live in Utah, where we can actually do some good work and have partners that want to help us.
Yeah, we go to, Western states meetings or even national meetings, and we start talking about the amount of money that we're putting through, WRI is the business system for all of these different pots of money, and they're just shocked at what we're able to do. And leverage as much money as we do with the different number of partners on our end of things. So we are very fortunate that things are going good, and we'll try to keep it that way. Sure. So the sportsman's group really support us a lot, and a lot of that, they're one big piece of that puzzle. So it's just much appreciated. And you guys get to help decide where that money goes and gets put on the ground. And our staff do a great job of developing projects and implementing them during oftentimes difficult conditions. And last few years, the difficult conditions have been drought and COVID and supply issues. And this year it's too much water, can't get out. It's just one thing or another. They're dealing with it and doing a great job. So
I do have a feeling that next year there's going to be a surplus of projects just in a lot of different categories that we deal with, just because of the floods.
Yep.
We're going to get blown out a lot of places, and so whatever you lack in projects this year, you're going to see more next year.
And I just want to say this for the record. So anything that comes to the council from this point forward that has anything to do with recreation-based infrastructure, I'm going to be asking the question about whether or not it went to the outdoor rec grant. All of those outdoor rec grant categories will be open to state and federal agencies as of next round. So I'm going to want to hear, if you didn't take it to that grant, why you didn't do that.
I'll echo that. I actually had that conversation in the aquatic staff meeting a couple weeks ago after the, the projects that came forward that just, they didn't check all the boxes. You know, there's a lot of different funding sources out there that, are at our disposal to be used. And I just have an expectation of our folks to go to those other sources and at least check them off and come here, with what's left. That's my expectation. And unfortunately, we had a number of projects this year that just didn't do that. The Cedar Springs is one of them, the marina project that we saw. I think there's an opportunity to be funded elsewhere, at least partially. And it was really disappointing when it didn't go to those places before it arrived here.
Yeah, it's a good project, but we're a smaller component, I think.
Exactly.
Than what was asked, so, okay.
Can we do the same thing with waterfowl? Because there are other options out there, groups that I don't think are being asked.
Okay.
Do I think they'll give up money? No, but
Should be asked.
yes.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of other, especially anything surrounding Great Salt Lake, there's all sorts of lots of money. So our intent is to try to tap into as much of that as possible, including other groups. So, good point. Okay, what do we need to do next then?
Revise the contingency list.
Okay.
Cold water, Daniel says.
What's
I like that.
Cold water's still on there, right?
I think we
It
put
didn't
it
get
back up there. Yeah.
With that contingency list, I'm just gonna throw out, there's a couple of cold water and the Parowan, you talked about decreasing the amount, would you say, with that contingency process, would you add the 8,000 back into the Parowan before looking at some of those others?
Hey, I'll leave that question to the whole group.
Well, I had a question on cold water. Daniel, can you get that fencing bought this year? If that's one of the fast track projects, does that help the other funds?
Actually, we're kind of in a pickle there, Cody. So, we could buy part of the fencing for sure this year. Part of it might be drill pipe fencing, which we're trying to get a contract in place, which we didn't have vendors respond to our solicitation. It was just, so the window might be tight for us to buy that type of fencing before July 1st, but just the standard fencing.
Not one vendor responded to the solicitation.
Was your solicitation for a state contract or was it for a specific amount? Drill pipe?
No, it was for, just for a vendor to supply it at a discount. So they could have said 5% discount, 2%, whatever, that was what they were bidding. We didn't get anybody to respond, just because there's so few people in our area.
I can see the value of that, but I also see, to your question, I think we could put it out and say, we need X number of feet of.
Oh, right, yeah, do an RQS, yeah, so yeah, we could do it that way and get it. Yeah, I think we're good, yeah, that makes sense.
On the Pavant one, what are your thoughts if we just added in the original amount? It would probably barely put us over the actual budget amount, Eric. What are your thoughts on that?
Put a 7 over. We let cold water cap, right?
That was just one that, it's a maintenance type project.
It still says 100%.
I mean, if that's a hard one for you, we can take the rest off of that Blue River. Cause yeah, I forgot about that. We need to make sure that Zubek is fully funded.
That's where we can be.
We're gonna be coming back with fast track and spending it all next year anyway.
Yeah, we'll see.
Fast track for next year might be tough. But, okay. So Daniel, Alison,
I feel good with that.
all right.
Do you want to look at the contingency list or?
Yeah.
Oh, let's just see if there's any other.
That longer is at the end of the list. So nothing, okay, there you go. And then what were we gonna do on Indian Peaks?
Fast track up.
Okay, that's great.
I mean, for me, I would probably put Fillmore at the top of the contingency, just because that's a fire that needs a fence.
Agreed.
Strategy wise, do you wanna look at trying to fast track the materials on that?
Yeah, I'd put it in on your request.
Okay.
I think probably next for me is Perriette, because I feel like we gotta build those stupid structures. We engineered them and paid for all the engineering on them.
We're not doing the actual engineered plan,
Oh, we're not?
because that was all concrete, now they've come and utilizing an equipment crew.
Are they still $100,000 a piece, or?
I can't remember, but we're still like 2 phases behind, we haven't started it. So we're gonna be hopefully doing 3 phases summer.
Right. Yeah, we did fund one of
I'm
those.
not sure if manpower wise, we actually did that 3rd phase right away.
Okay. So don't fund it then.
I would say let's get the first phase or 2 done.
So I'd take the 2 away on that then.
Okay, any other changes that we see we need to make on this? I'd love to see the Northeast Region's Tamarask ranked high.
It didn't go through WRI.
What did it?
You mean on the priority?
On the priority.
And how much money does that one need?
110,000.
Contingency priority.
Oh, yeah, I don't have any priorities other than the one, so tell me what you want. Did you?
I like that, but that's something everybody needs to chime in on. But I
That's
like
along
that
the-
project. I hate to see it.
That's along the green, isn't it?
It was over by the green. I think there's a contributory going into the green, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're right.
But it's a very broad area. It covers a lot of ground.
Yeah, they've got several.
It's all over the region.
It was falling on previously treated areas, is why I hate to see it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm with Randy on that, where it was kind of in phase 2 or 3.
Pat, any reason why that didn't come through WRI?
Hey, Tyler, I think we just felt like it wouldn't rank very well. It's just a, one component project, just weed spraying, so we didn't include it. And it was also just confined to our wildlife management areas. And the portion in the Strawberry River is part of the Dollar Ridge Fire Recovery Area, so we've already put some resources into that.
Now's your chance to sell it. Push hard.
Well, it's important. I mean, once you let that stuff go a few years, it just comes right back and the efforts go to waste. So I mean, we all know what Tamara's does to the water and to the soil, and yeah, Tom's really stepped up on this one. This one's I think a lot more well thought out and better than his Bitter Creek project that got slashed. But it is important for our region. It's important for the habitat and to maintain these wildlife management areas and to keep the habitats from shifting over to a weed, basically a weed patch. So.
And there was nothing already committed to this one, either sportsman's groups or.
Yeah. I'm good making it number 2 on the contingency list.
Priority on that. Okay, any other thoughts on what's there?
We're gonna need a third one.
I mean, I think you rank what you think needs to be at the top and the rest just whatever's available.
Out of this list, yeah, if we can just get a priority ranking kind of, or at least just the top ones, and that way, if or when money becomes available, we'll know where to look first.
The hardest part, I think, in ranking these is that there are some that would rank high, but they're short way more than just Habitat Council. So even if you threw all the money out of Habitat Council, it doesn't matter. So I guess what I'm saying is rank the ones highest that the Habitat Council money could make the difference. And I think we've done that so far with 1 and 2.
So Alison, maybe on your second screen, scroll over to see what the total is.
I mean, this Lee one with, it's, the full ask is Habitat Council.
I don't want a dime going to that.
I don't like that one either.
I get it. I understand it needs help, but I don't want to throw money at it if it's not. Yes, I do have heartburn with that one. It needs a lot of work, but I think it needs it. I think we talked about it when it came across that it really does need a management plan in order to be okay with that.
With that group, and they are working on that.
Yeah, I've heard
They
about
actually
that.
they wanted to come back and present that to the group, and we might look to do that next year.
Yeah.
Just have them present.
Yeah, I remember that concept. I think that would be a good idea.
And even though it technically doesn't have hunting access, even though
If it is
could.
better, it could, and I'm
but-
not even worried about that. My concern is it's dominated by particular groups and it pushes out the rest of the public.
Yeah.
And that's
And
my
we can
issue
address
with it.
that. I think we can address that, and so, and we brought those concerns to our outreach group who manages that property, and so they are working on a more comprehensive plan that's aside from just the gun ranges and somewhere we grow a few fish. And so, so they're looking at that, and because it is a WMA, one of our properties where it is set aside for wildlife related recreation, it does qualify for funding from this council.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean you have to like it, but it can be considered here.
Sure.
So,
And I'm fine with that. Like I said, if there was a plan in place that it had to follow like all these other, I think it'd be a little bit easier to swallow.
Yep.
So.
So I think I'm okay with that too. Okay, any other comments on anything?
My only other
Or
suggestion would
anything
be
to prioritize?
the bridges.
Yeah, that one probably just from our urgency and being pushed to get those done, that probably needs to be on the list, pretty high on the list of contingency.
I'm okay with that.
As much money as the state threw at the Great Salt Lake stuff, I can't believe there's not money there.
There's money
Could
there.
go towards this.
It's
It was just
yeah.
thrown in at the last minute, so they're probably having to.
Yeah,
Try
I guess
to
the problem with a lot of the Great Salt Lake money is these are on the recreation side. They're not necessary infrastructure to, to push water, convey water.
But the water goes through them to get to the Great Salt Lake.
It does.
And see how else we can manipulate the system.
We stick true to what those funding sources are, but,
Yeah.
so.
I'm
yeah,
okay
that
with
one needs to be-
The state canal, I'm trying to get all of that.
Yeah.
Through the trust.
That'd be awesome.
Trying.
I know they said they were talking about it, yeah.
Okay.
There was no money on the Bitter Creek one. I can't remember the details on the Bitter Creek. It's 33,000.
It's one that I think has only come through to Habitat Council. I don't think they brought it in.
It's
Yeah,
a
that's one that,
L.
that's one that it needs to come back and go through the full process. I mean, that's just me kind of telling the new guy that he needs to go through the
That's
whole
right,
process.
that's right. You said, I'd forgotten that, yeah.
Okay. All right. We good with this list then?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else we need to do on that, Daniel?
We want to do a motion on it?
Oh, yeah, I'll do a motion. Okay, motion, you want to?
I'll second.
Let's go.
I kinda wanted to make a motion, but I guess it's too late.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve.
No, I'm joking. Tyler and Drew.
I'll make the motion to approve the funding list as currently displayed, as well as the contingency list as currently prioritized.
Okay. Bruce, and we have a second from Drew. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Okay. Motion carries. All right, we've got a funding list and a contingency list. The next thing that we need to talk about, well, and before we jump into field tour ideas, I just need to mention our habitat staff and aquatic staff that have, and other wildlife section staff that have worked on, preparing projects, overall have really done a great job. And I need to publicly tell them they're fantastic. And because we do have this well-oiled machine of this WRI business system, it's not just a database or just WRI, that's just one side of it. There's all of these other things that are happening that works it all together. And we have great staff in our regions in Salt Lake who make it all happen. Along with sportsmen's groups and other people that work with us on things, contractors. And, I'm just really appreciative of all their hard work and recognize that often they're in difficult situations or conditions and just really appreciate all their hard work. So, okay. Next item of business is to talk about field tour ideas and select the date for a field tour during the summer. Last year, we had a great tour. It was exciting. It was during kind of that rainy period during the summer, and the duck was down on the Monroe, and one of our roads got washed out. We had to back all the way up the hill. It was great. It was a lot of fun. It was really awesome. Southern region always puts on a great tour, as do the other regions. But ideas for this year.
When we talked about Cinnamon Creek last year, you guys thought you needed a little more time to make that a tour worthy stop. I'm wondering what you think about that this year.
For sure, if you guys wanna go up there, we'd be happy to take you. It'd be really fun.
What I was gonna say,
And
Cinnamon Creek would be nice to see.
So the roads are kind of rough. I think about how many people would be going to.
20? Yeah.
We can invite the managers to that and
2025, so
We could probably get enough side by side if we want to see the whole
That'd be awesome.
property. where we can get trucks, we just wanna do a smaller loop, but yeah, we'll make it work.
I'd love to do it all side by side.
If there's time, would we be able to link in some of the work that's being done up around the hardware ranch?
Oh, yeah, we could stop on the way up.
Yeah, I would suggest maybe that would be, we could even stop at the center there, and that's where we have lunch or something like that, and, you know,
That'd be awesome.
the hardware is just right there close.
I don't know, it's kind of far for you to drive. Are you sure you'll make it?
I'm good. Real good.
That's why it was top of your mind.
15 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's an awesome idea.
All right. Do we need to discuss anybody else have an idea that was burning there? That they wanted?
I like that one.
We're gonna give the South a rest.
Okay, so Daniel, if we're good on that, so I'll work with you and, you know, and Daniel and Danny and others, and we'll start putting that together and.
Okay. What time of year, so,
Yeah, so that's the other question. What's your recommendation on time of year?
this year is probably gonna be, the roads are gonna dry up a little bit later, so I think around mid-June through August, whenever you guys wanna do it.
You say June through August?
Yeah, we're good in September too.
As bad as those roads are, and this year I'd say
July.
July sometime.
I was literally up there the other day on Monty Road and Ant Flats. You can't tell it's road.
Really?
Still, yeah, there's so much snow there. But I would
Off the
say,
highway.
yeah, off the highway. What? Early July, mid-July, something like that.
24th.
Well, there's the week before the 24th, which is the 17th is the Monday through the 21st is Friday. So I'm thinking like either Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 18th, 19th or 20th, but that is the weekend before the 24th. And there could be people that are taking a chunk of time off there, but I'd show at least my calendar and Danny's not gonna be around.
And late June would be awesome because everything would be really great.
Yeah, and we have
You
a
know, if it
habitat
gets
workshop
dry.
there on ZDOC structures, the 18th and 19th, but it could be the 20th there, or you go to past, basically into August
1st. Do you think it'd be dry in June?
First or third one, I mean.
I think in the June still, we're gonna be really beautiful up there, like.
Yeah, I mean,
Really pretty.
lush.
In June, the last week of June?
I'd say the first week of August.
August 1st or 3rd work.
Did you hear what you just said?
No, I didn't, I'm
It's
sorry.
hot. It's hot.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
It's gonna be hot
June.
there.
June it'll be lush and green and
It's still not muddy.
That was like August.
June 28th or 29th?
28.
28th?
28th work.
June 28th, there.
If it's muddy, it should fall.
So 28th.
I agree.
If the heater's out there, you know, dry out the road, it'd be good.
These guys send out.
The 28th, is that what we said?
Yeah, anyone online want to comment on June 28th, the Cinnamon Creek? Nikita?
It's changed a few times, but I know Nicole was planning on having a Highway 191 field tour with impact analysis biologists the 28th and 29th. That probably only impacts a few people, but just throwing that out there.
Okay.
I mean, they don't usually come on the tour anyways.
Right.
When's the WRI tour this year? Do you guys have one set?
So I do have the one for the northern region. It's scheduled for July 12th, and it looks like it'll be pretty much the same tour. It's Hardware Ranch, Cinnamon Creek, and the Beaver Quarantine Facility in Logan. And then I've got one other one that's scheduled for Central Region on the 7th of June.
Can we get invites to
You
those?
bet. So those are all on our events page. Watershed.utah.gov.
But we can surely send out a calendar invite to this.
Yeah, we'll have 5 of those tours. You guys are welcome to come to any of those. All of them. There's only a few of us that do all of them.
It's a good time though.
You get like an extra donut for that or something.
Okay. So, yeah, so the 28th is what we're targeting. Yep. So, okay. All right. So we've got a date and location. That's all I have on our agenda. Daniel, Allison, Tyler, WNWRI, final thoughts?
We're also holding a statewide partners conference meeting on May 31st. You're welcome to come to that or join it virtually.
The
purpose of that is to basically bring all of our partners together, networking opportunities, also opportunity to kind of hear about some of the research that we funded. Gary and his folks are going to talk about some ways that we use landscape conservation forecasting for our projects. We're going to have a presentation on how we use the migration initiative data in our projects. Anyways, that's on the events page as well. There's an Eventbrite to sign up for that. And there'll be about 120, 150 people there in Richfield.
So these are all the people that have those, that create those WRI rankings for each region. So all of the partners that participate in that process are invited to that. So,
and our goal is to have the funded project list by that meeting or shortly after. So that's kind of our timeline for when we'll have the funded project list.
And you're shooting for that on May 31st, is that what you said?
May 31st.
In Richfield.
In Richfield. One day.
And there is an online option.
and it's been how many years since you did that?
I think the last one was before the pandemic. I think it was 2019. So it's been a few years. We usually do it every 2 years, but pandemic killed that for the last several.
Okay. All right. Anything else that we need to talk about? Danny? Anything you need to mention? All right, Lisa?
We're good.
Okay. Anybody else from the council have anything that they want to talk about before we're done? And because otherwise, we're not going to see you again until June 28th. Okay. I thank Daniel for hosting us this year and on a tour in the northern region. That should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. Again, I want to thank you as members of the council for working with us to go through this process of vetting projects and putting money, helping us decide how to merge all of these different sources of money together on good projects so that we can get them all on the ground. Appreciate some of the tough discussions we've had. It's good to have those. It helps us, better hone in on what our priorities are and what's important to us as a division, as well as to your groups you represent. And again, just appreciate taking time out of your jobs or whatever else you're doing to be here, traveling, crazy storms to get here at times. Just really appreciate your work and your service on the council, and it makes a difference. We're one of those pieces of the puzzle that makes it all happen, and it's important. So, anything else before we're done here? Okay, that's all I've got to say. Thanks, Daniel, Lisa, Danny, Allison. Thanks to the AV crew that helps out every time. Yeah, with that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn. Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Steve to adjourn and a second from Angie. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm gonna ask for a no on that one. And, thank you again for all your time and our staff. So, okay, we're done. Paul, we're done.
Get us off.
Meeting adjourned.
Just a thought, Eric.